Hey guys, Ruminating Reaper here. So as you can see, it's a fairly great day out, so perfect cinema going day. Where I am right now, and all I can say is, welcome to Oak Street. Yep, see what I did there? Jurassic Park. Yeah, about to head in to see End of Oak Street. Been really looking forward to this. Trailers have looked awesome. Plus, the whole hook of Anne Hathaway and Ewan McGregor being chased by dinosaurs automatically sold, especially since this is the end of what has turned out to be Hathaway summer. And plus, it's nice to get original dinosaur movies that don't have the words Jurassic and the park in the title. So yeah, I'm gonna head in, get some snacks, and get seated for the end of Oak Street. That's the thing I'm gonna see. I've got my popcorn here with the Cadbury Buttons toppers and a Fanta, ready for a rare original dinosaur movie. So, the end of Oak Street. I am back from seeing it. The film is written and directed by David Robert Mitchell, the filmmaker behind It Follows, which is getting a sequel that is currently in production. The film is also produced by J.J. Abrams, the first film to actually materialize from the big $250 million deal his production company Bad Robot made with Warner Bros., with the second, The Great Beyond, actually directed by JJ, releasing next year. So look, I was really looking forward to this because, I'm always down for a new dinosaur movie, especially when it's an original one and not a Jurassic Park sequel. It's always great getting to see filmmakers play in the prehistoric playbox, especially with a premise as cool as this. But does the film actually deliver an exciting original dinosaur blockbuster? Let's find out. So the film follows the Platt family. Parents, Denise and Greg, their two teenage kids, Audrey and Brian, and their pet dog, Starbuck, all living fairly normal lives in their suburban neighborhood of Oak Street. Until one day, a mysterious cosmic phenomenon occurs that transports the entire neighborhood to someplace else, bringing the power down across the whole street. They soon discover, though, that that is the least of their worries, because they quickly discover that their new neighbors aren't so friendly, as they find themselves fighting for survival against some vicious, bloodthirsty dinosaurs. So obviously, for the last number of years, the Jurassic franchise has had something of a monopoly on the dinosaur movie, even with its sequels being all of varying degrees of quality. Now, if I told you that a J.J. Abrams-backed production has actually cracked the code on how to make a great dino movie, you'd probably call me a madman. But as it turns out, it has. In fact, I'd say it's easily better than pretty much all of the Jurassic sequels. So, right out of the gate, the film very much wears its Amblin influences on its sleeve. Obviously, it brings all that sort of sense of excitement and magic and whimsy with a, high concept premise grounded in a fairly human scale approach, driven by a sort of, increasingly distant family dynamic, with Denise and Greg going through marriage problems, with Anne Hathaway doing a very good job as the one who very much has to bring the agency to the relationship, while Ewan McGregor does a great job as the husband, who's very much trying to put on a brave face and pretend like things are going to be all right, when in actuality, they're not. And there's also some kind of interesting stuff with their kids going through stuff of their own. Obviously, their daughter Audrey, played by Mia Stella, trying to get into a good college to study astronomy, while their son Brian, played by Christian Convery, who you'll recognise as the voice of Oliver in Invincible, struggles with a bully going around trying to get revenge. got all that sort of all that sort of fun stuff. But also, there's a very interesting thing here of a sort of distant family unit forced back together in terrible circumstances, and forced to stick together to survive. That's very very interesting stuff. There's also some kind of fun stuff in here as well. Their relationship with their fellow neighbors, including their next door neighbor Mel, played by PJ Byrne. You know, it very much brings all that good stuff you'd expect. Obviously, being set in the 80s has all that fun stuff you'd expect, with sweeping shots of suburbia, kids riding around on bikes, bully characters being these sort of larger than life villains, all that fun stuff is there, all that sort of 80s whimsy. It also has some very funny jokes and some darker edges to it as well, as you'd expect from a film drawn from those sort of 80s family blockbusters. Now, admittedly, it does take a bit to actually get going. Very much takes its time, getting to the good stuff, as you'd expect from that sort of J.J. Abrams mystery box tradition. But my god, once it does, this thing just locks in and does not look back. Obviously, this thing has, a really great sense of pace and momentum throughout. This is only an hour 39, so, it very much wisely decides not to overstay its welcome. And it's a decision that works very well. Obviously, this thing is very, very well paced. It's pretty tight and has a really good sense of momentum to it throughout, never letting itself drag out or overstay its welcome at any point. It pretty much does not let up for pretty much most of its tight and fairly economical runtime. Delivering a fast-paced and exciting story, but also those little bits of character development throughout, and it delivers some great dino set pieces. I mean, David Robert Mitchell directs the shit out of these. They are, they are tight, they are thrilling and packed with suspense. There's a particularly great moment later on in the film, which is a sort of unbroken take, showing the family working together to try and distract what I think is a T-Rex. It is just glorious. And there's so many great moments that are just, packed with suspense. And I think Michael Giacchino's score, paired with, the sort of, impactful, weighty sound design of these magnificent prehistoric beasts, does a great job of bringing that sort of Amblin-esque whimsy, as well as those genuine moments of tension. Now, on that front, regarding those aforementioned prehistoric beasts, the film does a great job with them. I absolutely loved the designs of them. They actually go for that element of scientific accuracy, so there are actually feathered dinosaurs here. And, again, and also, this thing has the balls that pretty much most of the recent Jurassic films haven't. Like, this thing actually, has the balls to kill off, like, proper named characters, and does so in pretty brutal ways. Like, this thing really pushes the violence as far as it can, because, this is a 12 here in the UK, and this thing really pushes that rating as far as it can, because there are some pretty brutal kills here. And it all works so, so well. It is just an absolutely incredible, exciting ride. Now, admittedly, yeah, I I have mixed feelings about a particular choice that the ending made. Like, don't get me wrong, it does round out that sort of central sort of family dynamic arc fairly well, and does so in very satisfying fashion. But at the same time, I think it kind of also undermines the impact of one of the film's ballsier moments, and It's a moment that the film really, really lingers on. And at the same time, also, some of the stuff that is set up during that opening stretch never quite gets resolved either. So, yeah, uh, after a good two-thirds of really just solid, non-stop popcorn dino fun, yeah, it does end on kind of an underwhelming note. But in saying that, I enjoyed it enough that I'd absolutely recommend you check it out on the big screen. Overall, The End of Oak Street is an incredibly entertaining popcorn dinosaur blockbuster with exciting, fast paced, brutal set pieces and a really enjoyable 80s whimsy as it wears its influences on its sleeve, carried along by compelling and likable characters. Out of 10, The End of Oak Street gets an 8. So, let me know down in the comments, have you seen The End of Oak Street? What did you think of it? Do you think it did its 80s influences justice? What is your favourite non-Jurassic dinosaur film? And without spoilers, what did you think of the ending? Let me know all that down in the comments. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you're new. And don't forget to turn on post notifications so you don't miss an upload.